Legend Total War here, and today we're going to be explaining how the ogres function in Total War Warhammer 3 and how they could potentially be the richest of the new 8 playable races in Total War Warhammer 3. So, the main thing that we want to be focusing on are the camps. This is sort of like the crux of their main campaign mechanics, and something that you definitely want to be focusing on. Now, on turn 1, you're not going to be able to build any camps, but the first technology that you research will increase your camp limit +1, and then you get various additional camps as you go through, eventually getting quite a few of them, but there is a limit to how many camps you can get. Greasus also has a skill in his skill tree that'll increase the camp limit. So you can't get infinite camps, which would just probably make them overpowered. So looking at the build tree of the camps, there's basically 2 types of camps that you want to have, right? You want to have permanent camps where you build them up, where they make money, and getting them to tier 5 also provides you a global sort of like tax rate bonus from all non-camp building. So that means like the actual permanent settlements will increase their income by 12%, faction-wide. But this won't increase the income from this one. But as you go up with that, you'll eventually get a treasury reward from contract plus 1%, which isn't much, but it's really just about the extra income generated there. Now, camps can also be put in enemy territory to raid, but I don't really feel like that's very useful. So a lot of the time, if I'm going to have permacamps, I put them in my own territory. They don't raid our own regions. So camps have loads of different effects, right? So not only is that your only way to get tier 5 units, but the other thing they do is provide all of your armies in the sphere of influence. So you can have 20 armies in here getting this effect. Doesn't consume any meat while they're in the camp circle of influence. Now, what meat does is allows you to spend it at the beginning of a battle to get some additional bonuses, sort of like how food is used with the Skaven. You can offer it to the Great Maw to get a 10-turn bonus, but if you run out of food, run out of meat, they'll start taking attrition. Every ogre unit, so any unit in the ogre army, whether it be a Noblar unit or a Stonehorn, will consume 1 meat per turn. There's a technology in here, Gone Off Meat, that'll help you to offset that, so every army is able to generate 5 meat per turn. So meat is a per army resource. It's not a global resource, so you don't draw it from a global pool. If I recruit another army straight away here, it'll have a meat of 50. So that's the base amount, and it can go down or up depending on what you're doing. If you're going into enemy territory, you're consuming meat, and if you're in friendly territory, you get 10 meat per turn. Yep, and there's buildings that you can build in here to increase that even further, but it'll come at a cost. So I think the way they've done the ogre buildings is quite good. It's pretty simple, easy to understand, and you just balance it depending on what you need. So if you're in a red region that you're probably going to have armies in, as in red climate, maybe you don't want to put economic buildings in there, and instead you'll increase the amount of meat. Okay, so what we're going to be doing as well is taking this army and going to go smash out Clan Mordkin. Oh, another thing that the camps do is that they reduce the upkeep cost of units in there by 60%. So what you can do is have, as I said before, 2 types of camps. You have perma-camps, and then you have temporary camps. So as you're moving into enemy territory, you pop down a camp. It costs 2,000 gold, right? And then if your army's really expensive, you pop the army in the camp, and you might end up saving more than 2,000 gold. And then you just pull the units out at the beginning of the next turn. They've still got all their movement, and just demolish the camp, because it happens instantly, and then you just rebuild it as needed. It's a good way to also save on food. So another mechanic of the ogres that they have are contracts. I think this is a pretty weak mechanic. I have more or less ignored it in most of my ogre campaigns so far. I haven't played the ogres extensively, but it's not a powerful mechanic. Kind of what I thought it was going to be like. So you get 3 contracts on offer. You've only got this 1 turn to accept it, but you've got an unlimited amount of time to actually do it, or until the conditions actually become aborted. So, for example, Fulg over here want us to eliminate Older Get Gold. They're going to give us 575 gold, which isn't very much, and extra diplomatic relations. once I accept that, I'll have an unlimited amount of time to do it, or until they're wiped out. Clan Mord can actually want us to do us the exact same thing. I can't accept both of them. I can only accept one at a time. And that would also provide us with meat. But since I'm going to go to war with them, I'm not going to accept that. And the Thunder Guts want me to take out Grom Blackslider, but he's too far away, so I'm not going to bother with that. Whereas, after we take out Clan Mordkin, Karak Zorn is probably on our to-do list after that. So I'll accept that. There's no time limit to it. You can rack up loads of them over the course of a campaign, just never get them done. So it's up to you how much you want to do. So let's now talk about the heroes of the ogres, because they're pretty damn good. Starting with the Ogre Hunter. Hunters are pretty damn awesome because they can increase the mobility of your army, extra campaign movement range, increase the growth of a province, which isn't essential, especially later on in the campaign, because you can only get tier 3 buildings, and this doesn't increase the growth rate of camps. They've got a separate type of growth. And once you get them leveled up enough, they can mount on a Stonehorn, making them an incredibly powerful fighter, which also has a missile attack. And of course, you can buff them up with equipment and increase their hit points quite a lot. You can make a hunter stronger than a regular Stonehorn by quite a significant amount. However, they will be fairly expensive. Also, they have access to the trait Leadership, making all of the units in their army even stronger. And then they've got a bunch of other abilities, which I think have a fairly low impact. So other heroes that they've actually, the only race that currently has 3 heroes, indicating to me that the ogres have less DLC planned than the others. I reckon the other races, the other main races, probably have loads of DLC planned, and the ogres might have 1, giving them an additional hero, maybe. Okay, so the hunter can be recruited from, everything can be recruited from a camp. Then you've got the Firebelly over here. He doesn't get a mount. It's basically just a fire wizard. They're decent fire wizards, but I don't think that they're essential in your armies. Fire magic is still really good. And then you've got the Butchers. Now, Butchers have access to the Law of the Great Maw, which I don't think is a very powerful Law of Magic. However, that is your ability to heal. One of the spells of the Great Maw is just a single cast heal spell, so even if you overcast, it doesn't do an area effect. So it's not as powerful as the Nurgle Mega Heal spell. But if you're running with an army full of Stonehorns, then having a Butcher of the Great Maw can be very useful. If you're not running a Doomstack, then you might actually want to go for a Beast Wizard, because if you're not running a Doomstack, the ogres are pretty good at handling monster units, but they're kind of bad at dealing with getting bogged down against like low tier melee infantry that have spears. They just get wrecked with that. Same thing as if there's a lot of archers. So having a Beast Wizard cast Flock of Doom constantly can help thin out the herd and give them some buffs if needed. So it's up to you which heroes you want to get. And I think all of their heroes are quite useful, depending on your situation. In terms of their army roster, pretty much every single one of their unit is good in some way. Like the Ogre Bulls, they're just your tier 1 Ogre unit. They're, you throw them in, they get killed, you just replace them, no big deal. The Noblars, I don't really recruit Noblars, even though they're super cheap. And you can reduce their upkeep cost to essentially 0. They're just so weak that I just don't even need them in the army. The Noblar Trappers are alright though. They're a bit more expensive. Those are kind of like your early game missile attack unit. And then eventually you get like crazy shit like, where is it? The Iron Blaster and the Noblar Scrap Launcher and even the Harpoon Launcher. This is essentially the equivalent of a tier 4 Stegodon. It's very similar in its utility. And of course you can heal it. Too bad they don't have access to life magic. So what we're going to do here, make our way down that way, and I'm going to recruit a wizard here that I'd already recruited earlier, because I want him to cast Flock of Doom on the hordes of Skaven that we're going to be going up against. It'll just make the battle a little bit easier. So we're not making much money. It's not really worth it to dismantle the camp, rebuild it to transfer that in, because the army's not that expensive at this stage. So you really want to be doing that later on in the campaign. Also, ogres make a really good amount of money from trade resources, because not only do they get a lot of trade resources from the trade buildings, but they also make a base income on top of that. And factions just usually want to trade with them. And the great thing about ogres as well is that they don't automatically go to war with the Chaos Demons. So, kind of want to rush towards Ogre Throng.
What I got for ya?
Having some pretty bad public order, but if a revolt occurs, I don't think it's that big of a deal. So what we might want to do here is just recruit some crap into this, because there'll be a revolt coming fairly soon. Oh no, we're going to run out of money if we do that. Oh, there goes the... Oh look, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. There's 10 units in there, it'll be fine. Greases will get back there in time. Not really viable for us to untax it. So in the early stage of the campaign, money's a bit tight for ogres, but you can see later on the campaign they can really be a powerhouse.
No gaps bigger.
Should be able to reach there next turn.
Listen to what Gracer says. You. Over tyrants, Gracer's gold.
So this is on Legendary difficult with very hard battles, so naturally there would be a lot of bloody Skaven in there. And we're not going to be able to auto-resolve it. So we come on down. And what we want to do here is do an offer to the Great Maw and get Bloody and Raw for the extra 10 melee attack for the entire army. We could have done the come and get it for the extra campaign movement range earlier, but we would have arrived here at the same time anyway. But that is a good one to use, you know, when needed. And then you can also spend your meat to get a slight bonus in speed, unit mass, and charge bonus. Unit mass is pretty good for the ogres because it allows you to just pull right through low tier infantry units like this, and allows you to get out of combat a lot faster if you're in danger. Now the ogres aren't really the master of a lot of like tricky maneuvers. Their main way of fighting is just charge on in, especially in the early parts of the campaign. So rushing in to cap the capture points isn't really an option for them because they're not quite fast enough, at least until you get saber tusks. You know, can't really do much about spearman units apart from just charge in head on, but they're just strong. You just get buffs and just charge on in. Alright, I think I want to attack from pretty much every angle if we can. I want the Stonehorn coming in with Greasus.
I want it all.
Because we don't want to get into too much of a blob.
Biggest in the tribe.
But I think that the ogres probably struggle most against Cathay. Cathay seems to be pretty good against them. Because they got a lot of, like their low tier spears are really good. And their archers, like, they just hold them back and shoot them. But once they get Stonehorns, Cathay really struggles with that. Alright, I want to go through there. Try to get to their capture points as quickly as possible before the towers shoot us. And we've got our guy over here. He'll just come in later on the battle. I'm not going to wait for him. Let's go.
To us.
So, Greasus himself, not really the greatest fighter. He's kind of slow. He doesn't get a better mount. Like, it'd be cool if he can get him on a Stonehorn. But he's actually the slowest ogre unit. Now, we're really vulnerable to misses at this early stage of the campaign because ogres don't really wear that much armor. So, we need to make sure we tie down the Skaven Slave Slingers, which would be a big threat to us. Yeah, I'm not going through that. So kind of annoying when you're like using the camera across this. It keeps moving around all over the place. So I gotta get in there and stop those Night Runners. And this is where that extra mass came in handy. Okay, we've got to stop those Skaven slave slingers. Good, cap that point. Don't really have any special abilities at this early stage of the campaign. The army ability here is meh. Just slows them down, so it's good for catching up on missile units.
The quarry is mine. When do we eat?
Okay, as we start to progress through the city, we can spread out a bit more, not get so blobbed up. But yeah, the choke points really hurt the ogres. See over here, they're really sort of struggling against these Skaven. I gotta rear charge this and try to break them. Okay, this guy's come in. You can start using those Flock of Dooms.
Hungry. Good plan. Ogres. When supper. Let's go, boys. Munch 'em. Off we go.
So yeah, with the ogres, you really want to be moving around as much as possible. Just keep on charging, even if it means pushing through units. Don't get bogged down. That's where they start to lose, if they bog down for too long. It's all about that momentum. Make use of their charge bonus and their ogre charges. What the ogre charge is basically, even if a unit is braced, that bracing is only going to be half effective against ogres. I'd say they're most vulnerable against missile units, such as like the Night Runners, which is why I really want to tie them down. I guess one good thing for the Noblars is for the they're going to come back, so might as well Flock of Doom them. Use them as tower soakers, meat shields. Okay, the enemy reinforcements have shown up as well. Okay, we're too bogged down over here. We need to start getting over here. How about some of you? No, it's going to take too long to get around that way. Good, that's been capped. We really want to get rid of those damn towers. So yeah, you don't spend meat in the middle of a battle, you spend it before the battle. This doesn't cost meat. The maximum amount of meat that you can have in your army is 300, and if you get down to 0, it causes attrition, so you really want to make sure you never get to 0. But it's really not that hard to keep it above, you just have to stay on top of it. And it's not difficult. Build camps where needed, and you can be as aggressive as you like. Okay, the Stonehorn here might be best to come around the back here and rear charge all this. Okay, getting a bit shot by those Night Runners.
Call me over tyrant. Perform money right. When do we eat?
And if you're wondering, is Beast Magic buffed in Warhammer 3? No, not really. It's just that's what we've got. Okay, getting shot up a bit there. That's not good. But like I said, just need them to come in here to lift this bloody blob. Also, Ogre units not great at Lord sniping.
Biggest in the tribe. The ultimate Tyrants of tyrants, find a meal.
Okay, I need some guys come down over here because this thing can't deal with all of this. Problem with these Skaven settlements, like, they're like multi-layered, so you might lose track of some of your units underneath one of their bloody warrens. So I could have sworn there he is. Could have sworn I had a unit down here. Alright, he's still fighting the Lord.
Killing time. For more calls. Eat 'em.
The quarry is mine!
In my gut. Iron guts.
Okay, gotta get rid of those Skaven slave slingers. Try to get to that point there. Don't think there's too many towers shooting at us at the moment. There's this one up here. That one is controlled by that point. Okay, I'll need to get over there.
Me.
Get!
Ogres. Guts out, boys. Guts out, boys.
Just ignore that. Good, that's almost done there. Killing that Lord. Oh, no, they're nowhere near done, actually. Like I said, they're not great against killing Lords. They just take too long. They'll do it, but they take too long.
Rampage this way.
The Stone Horde might be better to deal with the Lord, but I don't have time to send him down that way.
Leader of butchers.
Find them and kill them!
Crunch their skulls. The more calls. The more calls.
Oh man, Greasus is ages away from where he needs to be.
Choose here. Greasus.
And he's so bloody slow.
Ring supper.
Take it all!
Follow the Moor's call.
Okay, break through here. Cap that point. Where's the other one? Over here. Okay, we're about to cap that.
I ain't no gobbo!
And there's the army losses. So yeah, you really got to stay on top of them, but you can see that the Ogres, if you keep their momentum going, they can get loads and loads of kills, even up against Spearmen. But they've got to maintain their momentum. Just keep on pushing. Don't stay in the blob. There was one point in the battle where they were sort of getting surrounded and getting spread out. You really don't want like 10 entities of infantry attacking one ogre, which is why using like an ogre blob actually works quite well. But again, don't get surrounded and caught up by chaff and then pinned down and shot by archers. And there we go. Alright, so with that, that's the end of this video. If there's any questions that you have that I haven't answered about the Ogres, we'll be starting a new campaign of Greasus Goldtooth. It's literally just mirroring what we've just done here, but I'm more than happy to answer any further questions that you have about the Ogres. And I hope you'll come and join the live stream. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next time, fuckers. Bye.